And Poison Ivy and Lux Interior are here for tonight's edition of Collector's Choice. The Cramps have just completed another successful tour of Britain. Was this your third or fourth?
Fourth, I believe. And then we did some one-off gigs, you know. They like flew us all the way to here and back because I guess they thought we were exotic, but
yeah, well, just about a year ago, we flew here for one date. We went 10 hours on a plane from Los Angeles and then a 6-hour drive, and we jumped on stage, played, came off stage, took a shower, drove 6 hours, and then flew 10 hours back to L.A. I still haven't gotten over it.
Well, you certainly have a big fan following in this country, despite the lack of a top 40 single. I mean, you are really popular. Do you feel good about that? Does coming to Britain sort of make you excited in the fact that you do well?
Yeah, it makes me real excited.
Nice to be famous.
Yeah.
What about back home in the States? Are there kind of areas where you're stronger than others?
Yeah, mainly the Midwest and East Coast. West Coast is okay, but it's more on like a large club level or something.
They
there we
have
can't
too
really
many
do.
hot tubs out there and stuff, like too much to do besides rock and roll bands out there.
It's not industrial enough or something. They don't appreciate it.
All right, I want to start playing some of these tracks that you've brought along for us to hear tonight. As I said, I mean, these are really obscure to me. I mean, I haven't heard any of these choices of yours, Ivy. The first is Cannibal and the Headhunters, and this is Zulu King. Now, where did you pick this up?
Okay, well, Cannibal and the Headhunters is an East L.A. band, and there's a definite East L.A. sound. They were Mexican bands, and it's from the area that we now live in. We used to live in New York, and we moved to East Hollywood, and that's we kind of became more aware of this kind of band, and I don't understand why it wasn't a bigger thing than it was. I guess it was mainly just popular in Southern California. Well, they did have a hit with, Land of a Thousand Dances they had a hit with. It was also a hit with Chris Kenner, but I think their version was probably equally strong. And Zulu King is obscure in that I believe it's only on that album there, and their album itself is probably obscure. I mean, their hit single, Land of a Thousand Dances, was more accessible. But
there really wasn't a lot of hits that came out of that area, but it was a really strong scene, and some adventurous chronicler will come along sometime, like Roger from Big Beat or something, and make this a more well-known thing. The East LA sound is a great sound.
And it's a real definite sound.
It's right at the core of rock and roll.
Later, I believe you're going to be playing the Midnighters too, who are from that same scene, and I mean, they sound different, but they all have this real kind of lush sound. I mean, it's real hard driving, but it was real. I think they're really a lot of stuff influenced by like the Righteous Brothers and that kind of.
Oh yeah.
His skin-tight clothes, beehive hairdos, wild Watusi dances, and right there at the core of hell.
What year would this have come from?
Real early 60s, from
Early
60 to 63, something like that, before the British invasion of America.
The sound of East LA then, from Cannibal and the Headhunters, the first of Ivy's choices tonight. This is Zulu King.
From the mountain tops covered with snow to the diamond mines, the drums echo from village to village throughout the land. They tell of the Zulu wedding plan. Blind man, beggar man, cripple man.
Cannibal and the Headhunters, that's Zulu King, and the first of Ivy of the Cramps choices on tonight's Collector's Choice. Do you remember the first record you ever bought, Ivy, or the first record anyone ever gave you?
I think it was Purple People Eater, because I think it was kind of common. I step up from Kitty records, and next thing was like popular records that kiddies could dig, and I remember like digging like Witch Doctor and Purple People Eater. I don't know like what order. I also remember
a frightening record.
One of the first records I remember having, because I think the first records I have my brother gave me, and it was Johnny Horton's Battle of New Orleans.
Oh yeah,
which is about running off the British.
You wouldn't like that over here. We don't want to talk about that one.
And what was the first record or first music you listened to that excited you enough to inspire you really to become a performer and writer in your own?
Probably those records.
Oh yes?
I was ham ever since I could remember, and I loved playing and singing. I'm more interested in playing guitar, but I love just playing guitar. But ever since I can remember, I wanted to be in a band.
It's strange. In France, they actually think that Ivy is the daughter of Duane Eddy, because some rock critic wrote Ivy, daughter of Duane Eddy.
You mean like a metaphor or whatever you call it?
Yeah, just as a joke.
And they believe they took it literally.
So we've been feeding that over there. A lot of people
I won't
think
deny
she
it. Yeah.
No, I bet you wouldn't.
She's actually Link Wray's daughter.
Who are your rock and roll heroes then? Who are the people that you most
Link Wray is my main hero. Because I think he's really overlooked too.
The first progressive rock guitarist.
Like I love Chuck Berry, but it seems like so many bands, I mainly just stick to like Chuck Berry, and there are like so many other hardcore rock and roll guitar influences that are kind of overlooked. And Link Wray was so distinctive and so innovative, and
he
had such a stance. He just had this really simple stance.
He was the first one to demolish music.
Yeah, he discovered fuzz sound by playing through blown speakers.
Right. Now, Lux said that with a smile. This aspect of rock and roll is something that you enjoy, sort of like breaking down sort of the barriers and taking the octaves apart and what have you, I guess.
Oh yeah, I think that's a real aspect of rock and roll that is real important. Destruction, violence, all the kind of things that parents are afraid of. A lesson for teenagers and a warning for adults.
Well, that's a menacing sort of appeal. Yeah. All right. This is an interesting one. This is a B-side you've chosen from The Midnighters. And when asked if this was a spelling mistake, shouldn't it be The Midnighters, Ivy said, no, there is significance in the double E in the. Now, what is the significance?
Well, many East L.A. bands had that double E, and I think it was, for instance, if you find any record where they're called The, and, like there was The Impalas and The Emeralds and The whatever, you can be assured that that's an East L.A. band when you see THEE on there. And I think it's a significance, just like, these bands are so closely related to gangs, because, they're like all Mexican bands, and they're very closely related to Mexican gangs, who also have the in their names. And
there are still bands there where we live in East LA now, and there's still bands there now that play music that's really similar to this. It's really pounding dance music.
I think it was just like a classy touch calling it because they were very classy, just like the cars are the classiest cars you ever saw, like lowrider, because this was like real lowrider culture, and
all their cars jump up and down. They have hydraulic systems that push them up 4 feet up in the air
like
and then
jumping
back down
beans.
to the ground. Yeah.
All right, from The Midnighters, this is Jump, Jive, and Harmonize.
The soul, baby, I got the faith. You got the soul, baby, it's all it takes to jump, jive and harmonize. To jump, jive and harmonize. Come on, please, come on, baby, please, all right. Soul, baby, I got the power. The way you groove
got the soul, baby, that's all it takes.
That is a fast fade from the Midnighters, Jump, Jive, and Harmonize. Almost a live sound.
Yeah, I think they
probably
wanted
was.
it to be a live sound.
Or it might have been the budget, I suspect.
Yeah, I can see where that sort of record really would have influenced and shaped the sound of the Cramps.
Oh, definitely.
It does,
definitely.
yeah.
Where do you find your records? I mean, do you have time when you're on tour to go off to kind of junk shops and specialist record
We
stores
make
or
time
fairs?
for it. I think it used to be easier, before we toured and all, but in a way it's an advantage because we go to places we weren't able to go to before. We try to make time to find records. They're increasingly hard to find because there's always more and more collectors, and we kind of got to really jump on a lot of stuff, I think.
A lot of our fans give us records, which is a trend
Yeah.
I'd like to encourage out there in Radio Land.
I can imagine. What about British records or British bands of the 50s or 60s? Are there any that spring to mind? Because I know all your choices tonight come from North America.
Right. Well, I was just about to say the Midnighters did a lot of Rolling Stones covers. They actually were influenced a lot when that came around. I think they started out before the Rolling Stones were known in America, but they were really influenced by that.
There are a lot of bands like that. Northwest sound is real similar to East LA sound, and all the bands from the Northwest sounds all did like Northwest area, Seattle area, all did covers of like Kinks songs and things like that.
I don't
we grew
recall
up like crazy for the Yardbirds and the Kinks and all those bands. That were like really the first remembrances.
Yeah,
of
I'm
going
not aware
crazy.
of any 50s music from England, but like Yardbirds and Pretty Things were, at that time, seemed like the most exciting thing I knew
Still
about.
drives us nuts.
Even
But they
as
were
we
just
speak.
recycling Bo Diddley, I guess.
All right, Andre Williams is next in this pile of obscure little things you brought along. Pass the Biscuits, Please, is the name of this. Now, these aren't the biscuits that we think of here. They're sort of cookies.
No, biscuits are soul food in America. They're more like bread and
doughy things.
yeah.
Over here, I know that
buttermilk
this
and-
means a girl's anatomy over here, but in America, that's a different meaning.
No, in America they generally serve with red-eye gravy and pork chops or something.
It's like a hard roll here that you get in the morning with continental breakfast, but it's a soft roll, and you sop up gravy with it.
Yeah, it's delicious. I have fond memories of biscuit eating down in Georgia, where I lived for a while.
Yeah.
That's the real stuff.
Absolutely. Okay, Pass the Biscuits, Please, then. This is another one of Ivy's choices from Andre Williams.
Excuse me. Excuse me, please. Excuse me. But will you please pass the biscuits down, please? Will you pass the biscuits down, please? I can't understand it. I go out and work and slave, and all my kinfolks do is play. Look at Uncle John down there. He's had 4 biscuits already. No wonder he got 4 chins. And there's Aunt Lucy down at the other end. I thought she was on a diet. If she ain't had 8 biscuits, she ain't had none. Excuse me, Uncle Bill, but will you please pass the biscuits, please? Will you pass the biscuits, please? Them biscuits sure is disappearing fast. I wish they would just look down this way. Maybe I can get Mary's attention. Say, Mary. Say, Mary. Will you please pass the biscuits, please? The only time they come down is for wedding, funerals, and receptions. You take old cousin Jeff. I ain't seen him in 2 years. And he don't even know I'm here. All he see is them biscuits. I don't want to reach over Betty, cause Grandma says that's ill manners, she said. But this meat ain't no good without no bread. Say, will you pass the biscuits, please? Or will you please pass the biscuits, please? I got enough taters and some yellow gravy. I sure wish they would just pass one of them biscuits. Look at it. It's almost finished and I ain't even started eating yet. Say, will you pass the biscuits, please? Say, will you please pass the biscuits, please? I don't know why them put them biscuits down at the other end of the table. Hey, will you pass the biscuits, please? Hey, will you please pass the biscuits, please? Now, there's one more biscuit left. Maybe if I get up and walk down the other end of the table, I might get that one. Pardon me. Excuse me. Excuse me, please. Excuse me, please. Say, no, wait, Uncle Jeff. Wait, please, wait. No. Well, I'll be doggone. He done ate up the last biscuit. I wanted the biscuits.
I wonder if that's ever been played on British radio before, from Andre Williams, Pass the Biscuits, Please. What is it about that, Ivy, that attracted you to it?
I think it's a hilarious recording. I don't think it was ever on American airwaves at any time either, and I'm always impressed by the fact that somebody would put something like that on a record. It's actually almost a conversation more than it's music, and it's...
We feel that it's a brilliant portrayal of the American Negro and his eating habits.
Now, some people,
like that.
some people, when I mentioned that you were going to be doing Collector's Choice, looked at me and said, "You're kidding, the Cramps are going to be on the radio? What are you going to do?" Because you have an image of being really kind of wild and, well, certainly unpredictable. These choices of records, for example, fulfill that part of the prophecy anyway, about being unpredictable. But when Stuart Copeland was here a few months ago, he was talking about how some bands kind of pretend to be hard or weird and wild when they're not really, and they are completely different when they take their stage clothes off and go home and see mom and dad or what have you.
Well, we take our stage clothes off, it gets weirder than you can imagine.
He said something like that. He said that the Cramps were the real thing. Because he went into a dressing room once or something, and he said he described you people as being kind of like bats in the dark or something like that, waiting to go on.
Thank you, Stu, baby.
You of course, did have a legal wrangle with his brother Miles Copeland.
Yeah, he can tell you how much trouble we are.
So how has that been settled now? Because this did interrupt kind of recording plans and what have you, didn't?
Yeah, I can't go into detail because that's part of the terms of the agreement that nobody would, but mainly, to sum it up, we didn't see eye to eye at all, and they were not the proper label for the Cramps. We had to leave, and we did, and now we're gone.
The main reason it took so long is it's his bunch of lawyers against our bunch of lawyers, and they all had a good time, and we and us two just sat on the sideline and bought each other hot dogs while we waited for it to finish.
Yeah. Those things do get out of hand.
Do terms like shockabilly or psychobilly actually sit easily with you when people talk about your music, try and describe you? Are you happy for those tags? Because they often
don't mind it.
sit alongside.
They're narrow labels that aren't even accurate labels. Plus, they're very, so narrow. But I don't. They're good words, I like those words, and I don't object, because it still sounds cool. That sounds like something cool to be to me. We're just a rock and roll band.
Yeah, if I had my druthers, I just wish it was called rock and roll, because that's something that there's very little of around today, just pure rock and roll. That's what we are. Don't nickname it. You might as well claim it, It's just rock and roll, basically.
If people nowadays are more familiar with rock and roll anymore, they would realize to just call us that. But those things they call us is cool, as long as they keep calling us a bunch of different things.
Right. Would you like to have a hit single? Is that something that you'd like to work for now with all the legal wrangles behind you, and you're going to be out presumably recording again if you haven't already?
I'd love to have a hit single. I don't think we have to change a thing to do that either, because since we are really just rock and roll and not one of these weird cultish things.
I'm going to try.
That's
We're going to write a single.
Everybody.
We're going to write a single just like Billie Jean by Michael Jackson. Call it Rockabilly Jean and see if it works.
It probably
change the words
would.
around a little, change a note or two here. I think we can make it.
Marvin Rainwater is a familiar name to a lot of rock and roll fans. This particular number, Hot and Cold, is not one that I know, though. So what does it
I
come
think
from?
it's this. him at his most psychotic. It's a completely psychotic song with real wild slide guitar, and he's just ranting and raving relentlessly.
If you want a perfect rock and roll record, this is it. This is the one.
Yeah,
it's just
it's
perfect.
brief, and you can hardly absorb it, you know, when you hear it.
Is this your all-time fave, would you say?
One of them. I have so many all-time favorites, but it's easy for me to say that this is.
It's in the top two.
Okay, let's hear it.
Hot and cold, that's what it takes. So up and cold, cold and hot, that's what it takes. But it takes a lot. Now give me hot, now cold, hot, cold, hot and cold. Man, I'm sold. Now give me a little bit of that rock and roll. Go, that kind of rhythm would stop the clock. Give me rock. When I roll. When I hot. When I'm cold. All together now hold on tight, 'cause we're gonna do it up right tonight. Go, go.
Sounded like he was really enjoying himself when we recorded
Cha-cha-cha.
that. Yeah, Marvin Rainwater, Hot and Cold. Ivy and Lux of the Cramps are here on tonight's Collector's Choice. And Lux, before we played that, you said that there was so little rock and roll around these days. Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I don't understand it. I hope that somehow people will, forget about this no Elvis, Beatles, or the Rolling Stones and get back into the history of rock and roll and get back into the simplicity of it and the stripped down rock and roll nuclear warfare over the topness of what it was when it first started because there's just something missing today. Everybody's either out for their career or something, making pop music or making really involved musical things. And rock and roll is just it's so simple and so direct. It doesn't seem like there are very many people that really have a handle on understanding what that is. It's.
Many people who would agree with you would regard rock and roll as disposable, though. They would say it's there to be listened to, 2-minute records, that's it, throw it away.
They're disposable people, though, so it doesn't matter.
Because you obviously cherish these old records.
Yeah. These are magic items, these records,
Yeah. All right, what have you got planned then when you go back to America after your successful tour here of Britain? What happens from here?
Well, we hope that we can record real soon. We've got a lot of songs written, which, need final arranging, and we hope to get a new deal together, because we're recently free to do a new deal, and I think it's really important to do another studio album now. That's what we want to do. We love recording, too. We love playing live, but recording's special to us, maybe because we do collect records and love records. I think they're really magic once they're, it's down on this thing.
Want to make some records as good as these ones we're playing here.
So we've been frustrated for a long time.
Right,
so
and you've had some lineup changes too in the past couple of years. I mean, who are the Cranks? Who are the Cramps today?
The Cranks, that's right.
Well, right now, Nick Knox, who's been our drummer for a long time, his cousin Ike is playing with us on this tour.
We want to keep it a nice incestuous relationship.
Yeah, they
like all
look
good
alike.
hillbillies.
Yeah. There's been lineup changes, but the Cramps have never changed. Where usually if a band has lineup changes because they're changing direction with us, we get rid of the ones who change and we keep it pure.
Right.
And we get someone else that's
The wimps fall through
like-minded.
the strainers.
I don't know if you caught that. He said the wimps fall through the strainers. Right. The Starlights are last. This is all we have time for. News coming up, and this is a song called Valerie. Again, a mystery item to me. What can you tell us about this record?
Well,
Ivy?
it's black R&B group, R&B ballad. I'm actually not sure where they're from. Most bands, just from the sound of it, I would guess it's from New York, because there was a real New York doo-wop sound. It has that
Sure.
sound. A unique feature of this record is the singer breaks down crying at the end. It's an over-emotional song, which I love. A lot of emotion in songs.
Give me that over-emotion every time.
And,
All right, well, let's hear it then. Thank you, Ivy and Lux of the Cramps for coming in. This is the Starlights, and the last choice on tonight's Collector's Choice. Shouldn't be laughing. Dear, oh dear. I hate to see a grown man cry, you know what I mean? Unless it's Peely, of course, when Liverpool win the European Cup. The Starlights there. An interesting choice, what? That was Valerie, as chosen by Lux and Ivy of the Cramps, my guests on tonight's Collector's Choice. And forthcoming guests on Collector's Choice include Pete Wiley of Wah and Billy Mackenzie of the Associates. It'll be Bronski Beat after the news.
Radio 1 News.
At 8:31 was Steve Annett.
In the Indian state of Punjab, more Sikh extremists have been surrendered to troops besieging the Golden Temple at Amritsar. The remaining militants are now believed to be holding out in just one building of the complex. The whereabouts